And we are live. Greetings, salutations, and all that jazz. And welcome to another edition of the World Anvil Worldbuilding podcast, Alive. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in today. And a special welcome, of course, to the fabulous Heather. Heather, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well today. Thank you so much.
We've been having a wonderful natter behind the scenes as we got ready for this about all things romantasy, which is, of course, today's topic. As we record, it is 2 weeks until Valentine's Day. So this feels like a very appropriate topic to be talking about, of course, books with kissing and potentially more. We're going to dig into all of that stuff. What is romantasy? How spicy should romantasy get? You know, all of these questions. How do you world build for romantasy and create characters and all of that jazz? But before I get ahead of myself, let me introduce the wonderful Heather Leighton Dickson, who is far too modest to introduce herself. And what a bio, guys. I cannot wait to read you this. H. Leighton Dickson grew up in the wilds of the Canadian Shield, where her neighbors were wolves, moose, deer, and lynx. She studied zoology at the University of Guelph and worked in the Edinburgh Zoological Gardens in Scotland, where she was chased by lions, wrestled deaf tigers, and fed antibiotics to polar bears by baby bottle. Was that as adorable as it sounds? I have to ask.
It was amazing because they're big. They're so big, and you're like, yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing.
The irony of the baby bottle feeding to a
right? It was like this big too. It was tiny.
Oh. Okay, she has been writing and painting since she was 5 and penciled her way through university by working for DC Comics. Now repped by Looking Glass Literary and Media's D. Ellis Wilson, Heather got her start as an indie author with the sci-fi fantasy series Rise of the Upper Kingdom, along with gothic thriller Cold Stone and Ivy. Then came the award-winning Dragons of Solanus series with Dragons of Ash and Stars, the autobiography of a night dragon, and Dragons of Sand and Storm, the autobiography of a goddess. But while we're here for dragons, and we love us some dragons, her latest project, very appropriately, is The Ship of Spells, which is a pirate romantasy. Heather, is that correct?
Yes, it is correct.
My God, featuring a Warsguard mage, a sentient ship, and a secret that could drown empires. I am intrigued. Can you tease us just a little about this incredible sounding book, which is already, guys, on my TBR list? Cannot wait to read this one.
Well, it was so much fun building it. Like the whole idea of the sentient ship that really kind of pulled things together, right? You always hear about the captains and they love their ships, right? Captain Kirk loves the Enterprise. Jack Sparrow loves the Black Pearl. What if they loved them back? So that is the whole what if for me, right? Like what if? But then how do you get drawn into that? Well, of course, you have to have the fish out of water, which is the young female protagonist. And she gets pulled onto the ship after a big battle. Ship battle. It's a very naval inspired, master and commander type of world that I built. So yeah, she's been shipwrecked, floating in the water, and they rescue her. But she realized very quickly that this is not a place that's safe. It's the notorious Ship of Spells. It has a reputation. It's a privateer working for the king, but the ship is alive and doesn't want her on board. So that's sort of the setup for it. She wants to be there because it's super cool, but it's also not safe.
Threatening, absolutely. I'm so excited about this already. Delian says, I trust this expert. She has ships on our shelves for shipping characters.
That's right. Okay, neurodivergent, I have a bit of a hyperfixation, just saying. I have so many ship models.
No, it's not hyperfixation. It's research.
It's research. It's research. Yep, you got it. I love it.
Secondhand says, the ship that sings is amazing. Love sentient ships. Anne McCaffrey vibes for sure. Adds Kitoy.
Yes. I love Dan McCaffrey. Absolutely, yeah.
All right, we have a reader coming straight in here. Will there be a book too?
Yes, there will be. Yes.
Before we even get to talking about romantasy, yes, there will be a book too.
Yes.
It is
a duology. It is a duology.
It's already planned. How far is it written?
Yes. Half. I'm half done.
Okay. All right, amazing. So, folks, we are not going to be betrayed with series syndrome. This is happening.
No,
absolutely. Okay, I'm very excited about this. So let's jump in because romantasy is undeniably booming right now.
Yeah.
Romantasy books are hitting New York Times seller best lists again and again. Onyx Storm sold 2.7 million copies.
Yeah.
It has surpassed any other adult level novel in the previous 20 years. So how do we define romantasy? Because like fantasy with kissing has been around for a really long time. So
Yes.
what distinguishes romantasy from fantasy romance or romance with fantasy? Where do you think that that's the wrong question, beg your pardon. Where do you think that the
There we go.
genre
Yeah.
lines are, and how useful are they for us as creators?
That's a really good question, because like you said, fantasy with kissing has been around forever, right? Like there's always been romance in some fantasy. Like not all fantasies have a romance, clearly, but some do, and that's been around for a really long time.
Yeah.
But I think the whole romantasy came from the success of romance, like the whole romance genre, which I'm new to. I'm not a romance writer, but that is the number one genre, the number one market, I think, in the world, to be honest. So that's probably what's driving it. So adding a twist, like I guess, so that historical romance was a big thing for a while. Adding a new twist, fantasy romance, or romantasy, which is a clever mashup of the words. It's just a new twist on what can you do with romance. Why is it prescient right now? That's a really good question. Is it because we are really inundated with fantasy, like TV and movies and books? Like we're seeing it a lot more. It's not poo-pooed anymore. It used to be like us fantasy readers were like, oh, go read your Lord of the Rings, right? It was a little bit, I don't know, like we were nerded out. Now we're a whole nerd culture, and we celebrate ourselves, but the whole world's a little bit nerdy. So I think it's like an open acceptance of fantasy as a really solid genre. It's also a huge market. So blending two huge markets is kind of a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, there had been fantasy with romance, where mainly it was fantasy, but there was a little bit of a romance. And there had been romance with fantasy, where it was absolutely a romance book, but maybe somebody could like cast some spells.
Exactly.
Like a lot of witchy romance was, it's a romance book, but there's witchiness involved, or there's a romance book, but there's a dragon in the background, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is, I feel like romantasy is very much, when we're distinguishing the genres, it's very much a half and half.
I think it's supposed to be half and half. Yes,
absolutely. Yes. So it's very much, it's got everything that you would expect from the fantasy side. It has the strong world building, but it's not flimsy. It's got, or it's not supposed to be flimsy. It's got the deep setting and the epic stakes and all of those things, which come from the fantasy side. And then on the romance side, the romance is much more important than just a subplot. The romance is a major character driver and motivation. And I think for me, that's really where it sits. How do you think these things can help us when we're setting out to craft? Like, how do you think those delineations help?
I think it depends on what you want to write. When I actually wrote Shipless Spells, it was a fantasy with a side romance. And so when it landed on the desk of Liz at Red Tower, she's like, can we beef this up? So it's like, oh, yes, I better do some reading, right? Like I had to start reading because I didn't know what I was. Wow, what am I doing? I'm not a romance reader or writer, so I needed to research, which was really, really fun. So yeah, it really helps you, I think, when you know what you want to write, or can you pivot if that's the case. It's not about like just writing to market or taking advantage of a market, but if you can, why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
And I also think that, we'll talk more about markets later, but romantasy is kind of fun to explore. Like it is enjoyable, and if you enjoy writing fantasy, it is very fun to write romantasy. It's like all the good stuff of fantasy, but you don't need to be embarrassed about writing the kissing scenes. Do you know?
No, that's beautiful, because I think probably for the longest time, because I'm of a certain age, right? And so for the longest time, there's a bit of internalized misogyny, and like I don't write that, but once I started reading it, I'm like, oh yeah, I can write that, right? And it was really fun and liberating. So it's like, if you can, enjoy, go do it, have fun. And it's really fun to read and write.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think with regards to craft, certainly for me, one of the things that because I have written some romantasy, one of the things that I did was I went out and read a bunch of stuff like you did to learn the genre. And then I was like, okay, what is making this genre work? What's making it tick?
Right.
And how can I make sure I'm providing that for my audience? Because Like they want something new and fresh. They don't just want the same old thing, but it has to feel like it's this genre, and there are certain things that are making that tick. So for me, that's where understanding the different genre categories comes in. I see it more like an a la carte menu of elements I can bring into a story that will make it feel more like what my reader's looking for, essentially.
Right. And what can you do that's a little bit different? Like reading when we got the contract with Red Tower, it was like, oh, okay, I better do some research, right? And online, right? It's fun. But online there was like, readers were saying, where's the yearning? I want more yearning. I'm like, I can do yearning, right? Like I can do the, he glanced at my lips, like, but like that, but no, they won't touch, or the Elizabeth and Darcy hand.
Oh, yes.
Like, right? Like I could do that. That excited me. Like I could do that. Readers were wanting that because they weren't getting that. So I could do that. So Ship of Spells is a slow burn. But when you get there, it's like amazing. But also the whole enemies to lovers. I know we're going to talk about tropes a little bit later on, but enemies to lovers. Oh yeah, like she hates him, but then she's banging him in like chapter 2. So like no, we're going to stretch that out. Enemies, they are literally enemies. There's a war going on, and they are from opposite sides, the captain and our main character. And so they are literally enemies. How does she overcome that? So I wanted to take that trope and play with it a little bit and make it something a little bit fresh.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Let's actually go to this question that we sort of started to talk about. Why do you think Romantasy has resonated so strongly with readers right now? What do you think is the thing that sort of kicked it off now?
Can I be personal?
If you would like to be, of course, we will.
For me, reading it was about consent. As an essay survivor, wasn't sure I could write this.
Yeah.
But when I started reading them, it's like the vigorous, enthusiastic, healthy consent was beautiful. And it was freeing, like I said earlier, liberating and freeing. And it's like, I can write. And so part of that, I think, is when you have a guy that is like absolutely respectful of you and asks if it's okay. Like that's right. Like that's more romantic than almost anything, I think. So that's what I bring, and that's what I take out. Other readers might have different ideas and different thoughts, but right.
I love that. Absolutely love that.
Just that whole, let's see the guys being sold out, but respectful. I love that so much.
Absolutely. Now, I have a theory on this one about why Romantasy is so big right now. And it's not my theory. It's Kat's theory. Kat is a fabulous content strategist, by the way, folks. You'll see her occasionally on the live streams as well. Truly wonderful. Also, by the way, published author. And only the coolest folks here at World Anvil. And she has a theory that all of the protagonists and a lot of the vibes in Romantasy are what was previously in paranormal romance. So she thinks that the paranormal romance trend has sort of shifted, ironic word to use, into the Romantasy trend now. And it's gone from like YA paranormal romance, young adult paranormal romance. Now it's shifted into Romantasy. And that's sort of where that thing has shifted to. I think it's a really solid theory. Kat, very, very smart human being. And I think that the reason that a lot of those tropes that we'll talk about later have ended up in Romantasy is because those are the tropes that were already in paranormal romance, and they've carried through.
And you also just said something too that would be really interesting, is that this generation grew up on YA. And YA, like, you can write anything. Like, there's no category, there's no spot in YA, or that's the paranormal fantasy YA section. Like, it's all, do you like the cover? Buy it, right? Is it a bit pretty dress? You don't know what's going to be in there. Like it, right? Like, so there's no hold hard in YA, but this generation is now grown up. So they want just a little bit more. So they cut their teeth on, like, do I love him? Does he love me? But then getting older, growing up, that new age
adult version of that.
Yes, exactly. The adult version of the YA. How interesting.
Yeah, and there were so many love triangles and love things. And it was almost obligatory. And now we see that graduating into Romantasy, which I think is fascinating to understand what the readers have in their back catalogue what have they read before.
Right.
And that's really, really helpful because it means that you can play with that as a writer as well.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Take what worked for you when you were reading this, just age it up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the progression? Yep.
So we've talked about, where did it come from and what is it? What do you think are the common misconceptions about Romantasy right now? Because it's a big word, and I'm going to say there's been some kickback.
Well, that it's fluff. That would be a misconception, that it's fluff. I guess maybe some of it could be, but some of anything can be fluff. Just because it's for women doesn't mean it's less than. I think, right? So I think that's very easy to kind of keep women in their box, but we're busting the boxes. So, so fluff, small, just womanly. I don't know. Badly written, like that. I'm just saying the things that I've heard until I was in the genre, and then it's like, you guys are full of fluff.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes. Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about. No.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right, especially about the fact it's the same problem that women's literature has.
Yes.
Like women's literature is literature
because literature. Yes.
Women are 50% of the population, and our experiences are also literature worthy, if you will.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, Romantasy has got the filthy romance cooties, the girl cooties on it. And a lot of people have really kicked back against that, which is a shame because there's so much in there. I'm sure, absolutely positive, there is Romantasy. Actually, there is Romantasy. I've read some. A Market of Dreams and Destiny, our amazing Trip Gailey, who comes on frequently to our podcast, has written his book is Romantasy.
Okay.
It's out there. Yes, exactly. Chicklit, as one person in the chat said.
Right.
And it's so derogatory, and there is some terrible Romantasy out there, but there is also some terrible epic fantasy out there. I have read it. It's bad.
You have read it, so we don't have to.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
But I'm not shady, so I won't tell you what it is.
Right. Good job. Yeah.
But there's good and bad stuff in every genre. But I agree with what you said, that there's a lot in there that's like girl cootie issues.
Or I mean, I never did watch like soap operas and things like that, but people would work on soap operas for years and years and years and years and years, make careers out of that, but then it would get poo-pooed. Is that because it's a woman's thing, or?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing.
In fact, funnily enough, I think one of the other things that gave rise to the romantic genre so much was the massive take up of the Game of Thrones TV series.
Yes.
They really, like, it's not in the books, but they really, really pushed the romance element, the sex element, the relationships element. They really pushed that in the TV series because it was HBO, and that's what HBO does. HBO was like more sensationalist take on stuff. And it's not to say that some of that stuff wasn't in the books, but they really went like way forward on that stuff. And if you look at the elements that were in Game of Thrones, a lot of them are there in Romantasy, like relationships that shape empires, that topple kingdoms. That's Romantasy 101. Like
100%.
This lady with dragons is Romantasy 101.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? And I think that was another big influence.
I think you're right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but because it wasn't painted with girl cooties, it had like man vibe. It was, and it's this, I say, painted, what I'm talking about, what you mean. Female coded versus male coded. Just in case people are sitting there thinking Janet's using, goblin words again. It happens. But it's a whole thing.
It is a whole thing. Absolutely. Yes.
Fan theory as well. Readers that became readers after Harry Potter have grown up and now they want more fantasy.
Yes, right.
Age.
Right. So I think that's completely true. Yes, we want more of that because it's magical. Not just magic, but it's magical. It transports you. It takes you away. It allows your imagination free reign. And sometimes the world is kind of hard and rocky, and you just need that escape. But how lovely if you can pair that up with a romance, with something that will sweep your heart as well as your mind. So
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the world building, because I think that is a major part of Romantasy that can really make or break a book. You know, if it has really fantastic immersive world building, if you are
Yeah.
gripped by the setting, you believe those stakes,
Yes.
that book's going to transport you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
how should the world building serve the romance instead of competing with it for page space, essentially?
That's probably where I would not answer the way normal people would, because my experience, this is my first romantasy, so I'm a world builder. So world building for me is it is super important, and I dive in to the world building so deep, and then for me the world building shapes the characters. So then that's how I was able to take Ship of Spells and make it into a romantasy, because it wasn't, like I said originally, how I could make it into a romantasy, because you had this rich conflict filled world already there. So you're going to have rich conflict filled characters who are yearning for something outside of that conflict. So in that respect, I needed to do the work to do the world building. I can't just read a romantasy that's, oh yeah, and then there's dragons, or there's a little bit of magic, like you said, like it's a romance with some spells. That to me is not romantasy. That's a romance with magic or something. Same way, you could have a fantasy with a romance. That's not a romantasy. So the world building for me is super important, and I think it has to equal, because you have to believe that you're there. I mean, otherwise, why are you reading a fantasy? Why not just read a contemporary rom-com or something? You might as well just be in New York if you don't believe that you're in a different world. So for me, again, like I said, I might be biased, and I definitely am biased, but world building is super important. I think it has to serve the romance. So because it's foundational, really. You're building a world where these characters are living.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
For me, like I'm a world building first writer as well.
Yes. Yeah.
You sound like you're one of us, Heather. I'm thrilled.
Yeah. Hi, girls.
Honorary Anvilite. Beings of all genders. So yeah, you are an honorary Anvilite here with your world building first approach.
Oh,
but for me,
you.
the world building defines who the characters are. It defines what their motivations are and what's important to them and how they think about stuff.
Yes.
So for me, the world building comes first, because who the heck are the people living here if I don't know what the world is like and how it works?
Exactly. What's happening, like in Ship of Spells, the world is separated. It's around the equator is what's called the dread wall. So it's like a massive wall of water that goes up.
Wow.
It goes up, and then water cycle. I'm a STEM girl. Water cycle. It comes down and makes storms and doldrums and stuff like that. But you can't cross. You can't cross the hemispheres, because the dread wall is all around the Earth. It's been standing for 1,000 years, and it's crumbling. Ooh. It's starting to fall. So ships are able to go through, and of course, being people, they're fighting. There's wars. Exactly. Territory, fight. But the captain of the ship knows what's happening and knows. So this whole world that I've created is foundational for his life, for his experience. Everything he's gone through is because of this. And so he has dedicated himself to stop this, fix it, change it somehow, right? So that's huge for his character arc. The main character, Anna Wren, she's in the water because of a battle, because of this wall that is falling. So again, hugely foundational for her experience. She's just been literally blown out of the water. Her ship is sunk and she's the only survivor. That's huge. So that's a part of her learning curve, is to learn to trust again. So it's world building is huge when it comes to this kind of character building.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that you can tell. I was saying that, quality varies in every genre. Yeah. The romantasy I've read that is less good is the romantasy where it's obvious the world building and the fantasy was stuck on at the end.
Yes.
It's not been built into the characters. It's not been built into the scenarios.
Yes.
And I think those are the weaker ones. Those are the ones where I will not name names, but fairies are eating chocolate pies, and you're like, where are they getting their chocolate from? Is there a Is there a trade circle here?
Tree?
What's happening? Is there jungle?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes, as a world builder, that does kind of run you into problems, because they'd be like, well, do they have bananas? Right? Do they have this? Like you do have to kind of think that through. And some of that, like my editors are like, don't worry about it. Don't worry. Call it a banana. But but it wouldn't be a banana. Call it a banana. It's okay, right? But
Yeah.
us world builders are like, but it wouldn't be. It would be.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There's a whole debate about, call a horse a horse. It's a whole
Yes.
thing.
Yes. Yes.
But,
I grew up on Star Trek. It would have been like an Andorian horse,
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely, yes.
Exactly.
But, there is a whole sort of, science and a bunch of questions about that. But on a basic level, the setting should feel like something that is integral to the characters and the places and the scenes, rather than something that's been like shoved on at the end. So I won't say start with world building always, because even though that's what I do, because I know that doesn't work for every writer, but
it doesn't.
By draft 2, you should have a clear idea of what this world is, and you should be able to answer questions about it and understand how the characters moving through the world has shaped them.
Exactly, because it does.
The story starts.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, it's huge. It's huge. If you want to be doing character arcs at all, and not just them falling in love, you have to be doing, well, I think you have to be doing character arcs because that's satisfying. If you're doing character arcs, well, why did they start there? You don't necessarily have to say why they did, but you have to know why they did, so you can reflect that as they grow.
Yeah, and how have their experiences in the world shaped who they are? And again, when the other half of the genre that you're doing that isn't fantasy, it's romance, you need to know who these people are. That is fundamental for writing a story.
I think so too. Absolutely. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So now that I've had a little rant about world building, excuse me, sorry.
We could talk about world building forever. I love it.
How do we make sure that the world building and the fantasy are serving the romance elements?
I don't know if I can answer that. I hope I did it well. I don't know. I think if that's a really good question. I think for me it would be about these. Okay, for my book, for Ship of Spells, 2 characters that are walled off, emotionally shut down, because they have things they have to do. And romance, there's no time for romance. There's no, that's not, no. They got to protect themselves and they got to do their thing. The world building, how are we going to take that apart? And how are we going to make that organic? How are we going to make that, I'll take that little piece off because he took that little piece off. That little piece of armor can go down now. How does those little steps of trust, I think that's really exciting when you're reading that and you're going, ooh, that did they like, ooh. But that has to be, if them coming together is your cores, is what you really want. What are the pieces? How are you going to get there? So I don't know if I'm squirreling, but like I think it's all that process, the steps of them becoming vulnerable and authentic and learning to trust each other. And again, I'm just speaking for Ship of Spells because they are enemies to lovers. It is a slow process, but it's a very satisfying one. By the time they are, before the kissing starts, it's very satisfying when the kissing starts, because it's like they have overcome so much because of everything that they have, everything that's going on in the world. It's very satisfying. And then you're like, no, you want them to be together because they're free together. Together, they're better together and they're stronger together. But something, of course, it doesn't always end happily. It is happy, but go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that really is where the world building comes in. Like the fact that you put them in opposite factions, that's world building. The fact that like the elements that come between them, that's actually the world building.
World building, exactly.
The world says they should not be together. That's how the world building bit works.
Exactly.
So I think that those are the moments where, again, the world building is really serving the romance by providing obstacles and tension and those kinds of things.
And like in a contemporary romance, it could be the boss sold the company and now they're not working together, or my niece broke her leg and now I have to go to Philadelphia, or like whatever. We understand that. That's not necessarily world building. But if you are in a fantasy world, you have to build that. You have to build that. There's not a given. They're not just going down to Starbucks, right? You have to build all of that. So it does serve the characters, but it's just that extra bit of work. And I do love that. Like I said, I love world building because I find people's imaginations, what they can do and how they can spin things, is just phenomenal. I love it.
What do you think are tropes of setting a world that really work for Romantasy? Like, you know, we mentioned the two warring factions is a
Right.
great one
Yeah.
to set up when you're
Yeah.
trying to create this kind of you know, rivals or enemies to lovers
Yeah.
situation. What other kinds of tropes do you think are really useful when you're setting up a Romantasy world?
Found family. I do
Mm.
love the found family trope, because yeah, both characters, they don't have family. For the captain, his family, the crew of the ship, right? And she begins to be accepted by the crew as well. But found family, I think, is lovely, and I don't know, like, we really need that right now in our world. So like that's a very lovely trope. Enemies to lovers, friends to lovers, those are
Yeah.
common tropes. Grumpy and sunshine.
Mm.
I tried to pitch it as grumpy and grumpier. It didn't fly. They want no, determined, grumpy and determined. Okay, because I don't have a sunshine character. My
Okay.
sunshine
Yeah.
is a side character. Neither of them are sunshines. So, but like grumpy and sunshine, which is lovely, right? It's so much. That's fun. Like that's a
Yeah.
really fun trope to read. So, and those tropes. I mean, yeah, you can shoot yourself in the foot with a trope by just writing two trope. But if you
Mm.
take them and use them as bit like building blocks, then maybe play with them a little bit, I think that's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think another play on the sort of two different factions is the two different worlds. So
Yes.
Portal is
Yep.
very common.
Right.
You
Yep. Yep.
know,
Yes. Yes.
the most
Yep.
famous in the genre, Court of Thorns and Roses. You know, it's
Yep.
the
Yep.
it's the fairy
Yep.
world versus the mortal world, and
Yes.
the
Yes.
tension between those two
Yep.
spaces.
Yes. Yeah. But even
Um,
something simple, not simple, certainly not, but like Outlander,
yeah,
right? You've got it's is it historical romance? It's a portal romance. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah,
So what is that? So how fascinating. She played with that trope.
yeah, yeah.
And
No, she
I
did
think it's
very
still
well.
playing with that trope. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
again, you mentioned fish out of water earlier, and that's
Yeah.
something
Yes.
that is another
Yeah.
very common trope where your
Yeah.
character comes from
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
else.
Different.
They
Yes.
are out
Exactly.
of
Yeah.
their comfort zone, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is created by world
Yeah.
building. It's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
rural character that comes to the
Yeah.
city. It's the
Yeah.
alien that comes to the
Yeah.
new world. Like this is created
Yeah.
by setting. That's where the
Yeah.
other comes from.
Exactly. And that's so much fun to play with because is that your POV character? Is that somebody else? Yeah. Super fun. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, let's piggyback into that. What makes a great main character for a romantic novel? How are we constructing our main characters? What are we giving them? What hooks are we
Right.
going into that is going to make this a great, not just a great fantasy or a great romance, but both?
So for Honor, Honor Wren is her name. She's an ensign blue mage in the Navy. Yeah, she's tough. She's tough. I based her a little bit on Arya Stark because we've talked a little bit about Game of Thrones. So Arya Stark, type of like that kind of tough. I've had to do this to survive. But then I remember seeing. I watched the Doctor Strange. I'm a comic book girl, and so Doctor Strange movie. You too, yay! So Doctor Strange. I'm like, you're a jerk. You're an absolute jerk. He was my favorite comic book character. Him and Black Panther, my favorite comic book characters when I was reading. But it's like, you're a jerk. Why can't women characters be like that? And I didn't use the word jerk. A little bit like an a-hole. So, so it's like, I want my character to have a little bit of that. She wants to be the best she can be. She is good at what she does. She is driven. And why is that not okay? Why does she have to smile more? Why does she have to be likable? I want her to be ambitious. And so she's still ambitious at the end of the book, but it's tempered now, right? Of course, because of life. But so that was inspired by Doctor Strange being a nasty ass dude. And so for me, I think we have to, yes, we do have to relate somehow to the main character, but I think you really need to want to see them grow and change and become healthy. They all start off, I don't know about all of them. I can't speak to all of them, but almost everything I've read is like, there's something missing from your main character. There's something, and they don't need it. Well, maybe they do, right? So what are they missing that they need to put back in? So Ship of Spells is from Ren's point of view. It's a one character POV, but the second book is dual POV with the captain's POV, and it's so much fun writing him because now I'm in his head, and whereas all of this, his the character arc and everything, where did that come from? How is that going? Why did he fall for her first? Like when never show it, that kind of thing. So it's just fun to really unpack all of that And he's not your typical macho dude. He's a book guy. He loves books, and he wants to learn. He wants to grow. He needs to do this thing that he thinks he's responsible for, right? So he's a little bit hyper focused on something, but he's a book dude. Of course, very handsome book dude, but still a book dude. So that's a little bit of a flip on that trope too. He's not just Mr. Grunty guy. So, but the main characters are super important, and I really enjoy writing them.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you said that they often appear very grumpy at first. At least one of the characters. This is such a Jane Austen Pride and Prejudice trope, of course. Stretching back to the greats, when we meet Darcy for the first time, we're like, what is wrong with this man? And what crawled up his ass and died? And then we learn more about him, and we learn again what is missing. He's shy. He feels uncomfortable, and his way of dealing with that is being an a-hole. Gotta keep this PG. And that is such a great trope that really stands the test of time. But the other thing that I loved about what you said is, there's something missing, because I think with romance, there are two people who are struggling. And to your point from earlier, they are better together somehow. And when romance stories, for me personally, when they really work, it's when we see both characters make each other better. And thrive together. They're not toxic. They're not bickering. They're not causing problems. They are helping each other in a very real way. Yes,
exactly. Like mutually supporting, and not just you got this girl, or not like, but like really, it's that's I'm losing my words, but that's so important, that it is that mutual respect, and then it becomes like adoration, and you can do this, and we can do this, and I don't think I can do this. Yeah, we can. Like that. That's beautiful. And again, that goes to that. Is that fantasy as well? is that we all strive for relationships like that, right? We love relationships like that. If you have that person in your life that really, they got your back, they're your person, right? I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that means that often they have a trauma in their past. They have something that's gone terribly wrong that's caused this, to use K.M. Weiland's term, this false belief that needs to be overturned. And that is a world-building moment, my friends. That's, the big failure at wizard school. That's, the first husband who was a noble and kept telling me I wasn't, posh enough. These are all world-building moments, because the things that happened to them happened in this world. And if you pour world building into that hole, what you get out is a character who is woven deeply into the world and feels more real and more of the world, which is exactly what Romantasy is all about.
And then it goes back to the trope discussion. Who did this to you, right? So that when you get that character who's like, what has happened? How can I fix this? How can I kill that person? How can I, whatever, or touch them and die? Like, how did this happen to you? That for the reader is also fun to unpack that, or traumatic to unpack that. But I mean, it's a fascinating journey as our characters are unpacking that. We're unpacking it with them.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to character chemistry. I'm not asking you to be shady. I'm not asking you to name names. But in the space of watch out for these things, what mistakes do you see writers make when they're trying to write chemistry on the page between characters? Now, that doesn't have to be spicy chemistry. That can be regular chemistry. But when they're trying to write characters that feel like they're sparking.
Right. One thing I do have a problem with is like the main characters, and again, no shade, but main characters who, to me, don't have a character. They are whatever the scene needs to be. And so that, I think, I don't know if that's like a self-projection or whatever, but it's like whatever the character needs to be, YN, I don't like that. I want the character to have their own personality, and then we see what happens when they meet up with their prospective partner. So the chemistry, I think, can sometimes be false. In that, like, you're supposed to want them together, but you're not seeing it. Or sometimes you'll see, I guess they're supposed to be together, but she kind of got more chemistry with that one.
Exactly.
Right. So like there's more banter, there's more fun, there's more life in that one. And, no toxic, like that's a better relationship. So So I think you can shoot yourself in the foot with that by having too much fun with your side characters. So again, like I'm new to this, so I don't know all the pitfalls, and I may have fallen into some pitfalls. But I mean, I think for me, when I'm reading, those are things that kind of take me away. I want the main character to know herself, or I want us to know them, right? So that when they are with that other, the significant other, they're not just whatever. You know, I'm a librarian, but I'm also a fighter, but I'm also really good in the sack, but I'm also, you know, like pick one, pick two, but not everything.
Don't create a munchkin. Don't create someone who's good at everything. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's, and then like for the partner, I like I said, I'm not a fan of the toxic tropes. I'm not a fan of that. I won't write that. There's still got to be something noble about my male main characters, or my prospective partner character. Something noble that I go, yeah, that's cool. I like that. I could write this guy. The toxic dudes, I don't think I could write that. So, but that's just me. I mean, there's other writers who can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to this question, because we're getting on in the interview, and I want to make sure that we talk about it. Obviously, Romantasy is romance with kissing, you know, as we said. And some of it is spicier than others. So there are some things where it's very closed door is the term, where you know that some just pantless shenanigans are going on.
That's right.
Like,
the lights go down.
Exactly.
That's right. Yeah.
And others of them are quite explicit, and some of them are very explicit.
Yeah.
So I guess, how do you find the level of spice that you need, and how do you create that to make it feel like it's character driven, not just gratuitous?
Yes, exactly. I think that probably depends on your comfort level. And again, this was my first scene, my first open door scene. It's always been, and then in all of my other books, it's always been, and the lights go down, and you know, shenanigans. But this was like, but I'm a lyrical writer. I write very lyrically, and so when I submitted the book, and my editors, I'm like, and they're like, good, perfect, beautiful, right? I'm like, oh wow, okay, because just enough, but it was so emotionally driven, because like I said, both of these characters have been so locked down for so long that it was like a release, and no pun intended, but it was the emotional connection and release and fun and joy that started coming out, that they were surprised by, and I was taking that and running with that, just the emotions and no, that's good, you know, like that kind of thing, and just letting them banter back and forth even while things are happening was really fun and lovely. And like, I always say it's a very lovely romance, because they need each other. They bring out the best in each other, and they need each other for that reason. And so when we finally got to see that, it's like, oh, that's so lovely. Oh, go, you kids, go. So it was that, but that was my comfort level. After writing this scene, it's like, I could do more. Yeah, I could do more. But so this was my first, and it was really interesting. Again, depending on your comfort level. I've read some that are like really like, we're wide open, and there's no lyrical language. This is what is happening right now, and that's fine too. And there's things to be said for that. I just had a hard time writing like that, and I don't think the story wouldn't have benefited from that. But it is open door, and it's quite lovely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I think that, when you are writing these more, romantic scenes, these more sexual scenes, you do need to experiment and see what feels comfortable for you. If it's feeling icky to you, then you can stop. It's okay. It doesn't have to be there.
And the whole spice thing is so funny, because I remember one of my friends was reading some of the reviews, and she's like, 2 peppers? You got 2 peppers? One scene, 2 peppers? Like, I'm a 2-pepper author, right? It was like, that's bragging rights now, right? I got 2 peppers.
And that's the thing, is that going back to what you said, it should feel like that's the difference between prawn, I will say.
Yes.
And what is, an actual novel, a fantasy
Yes,
novel with
yes,
some more
yes,
explicit
with some
material
scenes,
in it.
exactly.
The difference
Yes,
is that, you know, it's there to serve the characters. It's there to serve the
yes,
story. It's not just there
yes,
for titillation. You know, it's
right,
and it
yes,
should be doing that. And it sounds like that's
yes.
exactly what you captured there.
I think so. And it's interesting too, because sometimes it's funny that people fixate on that.
Yeah.
Like there's a keel hauling in the book. That's a
Yeah.
pretty horrific way to die.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
to do research.
Yeah.
But that's in there and it's fairly graphically described.
Yeah.
Nobody has a problem with that, right?
Yeah.
Just like Game of Thrones, nobody has a problem with the killing and the murders and the beheadings and all of that. Why do we go, like, why do we do that
Yeah.
when it comes to love scenes?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
Something much more healthy and happy and positive, and we're like,
yeah.
oh, no, why?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again,
Yeah,
like there are people who feel uncomfortable with this, and there are things available if you're looking to read around the genre. There are things
yes,
available at all levels, at all spice
yes,
levels. So don't feel like
absolutely.
you have to be uncomfortable if you want to research
No,
this or get into writing this.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's talk about getting into writing this. How do you recommend that writers think about trends without chasing them
Ooh,
blindly? Because obviously a lot of writers have been sitting there thinking, oh, maybe I should write Romantasy because it's popular
right,
right now.
right,
What are your thoughts
right.
on that?
Right. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot because the trends are going to change by the time your book is ready to come out, right? And not to change trend, not that trends change super fast, but they kind of do, right? You got about a 5-year, 10-year window, maybe. Ship of Spells got picked up by my agent in 2020. It came out in 2025, right? That's the process. That's how long it takes. It takes a long time. So you could be writing to a market that is crazy super hot right now, and by the time it's ready to go, it's like, oh yeah, that's yesterday. So
Yeah.
I think, what are you reading that you're enjoying? And what is the story that you want to tell? Like with Ship of Spells, it was easy to turn it into a romantasy because that's hot right now. But I wrote the story that I wanted to tell, and then we could tweak it in the end stages, right? So same thing. If you're writing a paranormal romance and paranormal romance is dead, well, it's not. Dystopian is coming back. So it's like, just write the story you want to write. When you pitch it, when you get an agent and when you get a publisher, if you need to tweak it, you can tweak it. But I think writing to market is very difficult to be successful at it, I think, unless you're one of those really, really fast, super prolific, fast
Yeah.
writers. Some people are, right? I'm not.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
There is a very fine book, if you are interested in writing to market, by Chris Fox, who's also an Amberlite.
Cool.
Author of this, his name is Chris Fox. He is an Amberlite, a World Amble user.
Okay.
He's the author of the Six Figure Author.
Okay.
And he is completely self-published, which means
Yes.
that the publishing cycle is much, much faster.
Much faster, exactly.
He has an excellent book about writing to market, which I read and went, this is not for me, but this is very interesting information.
Right, right.
Short, and I do recommend picking it up if you're curious.
Yeah,
because
I will. Yeah.
It's fascinating. Really, really great read. Very, very practical.
Yep.
And sort of easy to follow the advice that he puts down. And again, it was one of the things where I was like, okay, this is great information. I don't need this for me, but I'm very interested to know that this is out there.
Yeah.
And if you do want to self-publish, I think chasing trends is more realistic. But if you want to go to traditional publishing, everything takes so long, guys.
It does. Yeah. And self-publishing is fun. I mean, I'm a little bit, not that I'm a control freak, but I can do, I'm an artist as well, so I could do my own covers. They're all fabulous covers. I've got friends who are writers, they could edit for me. So like I was able to have a really solid career being indie, and you can turn it around pretty quickly. So I can put out like about a book a year. Some people can do that's pretty decent considering they're big hefty fantasy books, right? But some people can do more. And if you can write to market and you can do it and you can turn it around, it's a nice sweet spot right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a friend who is a category romance author, and he writes like 3 books a year.
Yeah.
That's all he does. He's self-published author, supports himself.
Yes.
If you are that, you can absolutely write to market. And
absolutely.
That link has gone into the chat, right to market by Chris Fox, so you can check that out, guys. And
I'll do that.
Heather, I'll send that to you afterwards.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, so we had a wonderful audience question that I do want to make sure we get to, which is, Is there a place, this is from Amanda Bassett, is there a place you would suggest someone interested in writing more romantasy be able to research the genre? So I guess like, what did you read that was helpful? Because I know that you did a bunch of research for your book.
I did. I read the Romantasy classics. Sarah J. Maas, the Rebecca Yarros. Like, those are the two really tent pegs I think we would probably all agree on. And so I did. I read all of not finished Throne of Glass series, but I think I've gotten 4 out of the 7 books read. Just I love the fact that she started when she was like 16. Like, it was, and you could see her growth as a writer. I think that's so amazing. But as a, like, for actual pure research, or if there's like there's one thing online when I was starting to go, okay, what can I do? There was a template sheet, how to write a romantasy, and it broke down the beats. And I thought the story beats were really interesting, because you still had to have your meet cute or meet hate or whatever, right? Like, you still had to have some of those things. And the beats for fantasy and romance are so different. This is why it's really tricky to do it well, right? The beats are different. So that was like interesting. I'd already had the story written, but it's like, that I'm going to go back and look at that, because I don't need to use it for my second book, because clearly it's a like a duology, so we're continuing the story. But if I was gonna write another romantasy, it's like, I might just take a look at that beat sheet there and just see if I'm hitting the beats. And so that, I think story beats are super important. I think I'm really, there we go. I got the sun coming in there. So that was interesting, like, to Google online and find there's actually a romantasy beat sheet that you can download. So there are books. I'm not a much of a how-to writer. I've got Stephen King's On Writing. I got Bird by Bird. I've got them all. And like, cool. It doesn't, I don't really find them applying to me so much. But they're good to have. And it's Save the Cat was really good. But again, that's not specifically for romantasy. It's about writing and hitting those beats too, really. So I could, other than reading those classics, I don't know about any other like resources that you can use other than just jump in, read, and see what resonates with you. Like, even write points down. I think that would be super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say as well, when I started to explore romantasy as a genre, one of the things I did was I went to Amazon and I got the romantasy category and I just read the blurbs. I looked at the covers and I read the blurbs. I was like, what are the vibes here? Just to start with, before we even start reading full novels, like, what is the spectrum we're looking at?
Right.
And that was phenomenally helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, like you, I read the big ones first. I was like, okay, Court of Thorns and Roses. I need to know why everybody's liking this book.
Yes, exactly.
The Fourth Wing series. I need to know why everyone is liking this book. I've read the first one of that. And I just started by reading around and the really big things and trying to figure out what were people enjoying about these things, because I didn't necessarily enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses so much, but I did want to know what is it getting from this, and how can I do that in my own style better for me, whatever better means, better for me, and how can I make this my own? And I think that's a really good place to start, Amanda. I hope that that's helpful.
I think so.
We have a question from Cedra about your novel specifically, and they ask, do you include scurvy and other ailments that pirates suffered from? Very important question.
Yes. I did lots of research, and like I said, that is my, I love ships. I have learned to sail. Any chance I can be on a tall ship, I'm there, right? So, but it's a hard life. It's a hard life, and I would not wish it on anyone. That said, in our book, we have a doctor, and he's very competent, and he makes sure everybody eats their lemons. So they're not limes, they're not lemons, they're limons, because I'm a fantasy writer. So, like things like that. They eat a lot of hardtack. They drink a lot of gin and have their nightly tots and their rum. But like getting into the pirate world, and again, it's a privateer, not a pirate ship, but it's just a legal pirate ship, right? That's what a privateer is, a legal pirate ship. They're doing work for the king. But that was so much getting into that world, and I think it's a very immersive world. I think you struggle a little bit at the beginning because there's so much terminology. Almost the entire book takes place on the ship, and it's like, I remember my agent saying, like, this should not work. It's a bottleneck, but it's so rich. It's so rich, and the conflict that's going on with everybody on the crew, and but the world of the ship itself, and sleeping on a hammock that swings. I don't talk about going to the bathroom. You literally go over the side, but other things about, like, how do you scrub the decks? How do you clean the cannons? Like things like that. Pulling the ropes or the lines, we call it ropes, the lines that wears down your hands, so I make it very real and very, very gritty. So that you really feel like you have been, once you finish this book, it's like, do I have my sea legs? I'm wobbly because you've been on the sea the entire time. So I had a lot of fun with that. And for me, again, that's part of the world building that I absolutely love, when you can really build a world and then immerse yourself in that world so that you feel like when you come out of it, where am I? Can I go back? I want to go back on that ship, So that was a lot of fun. So yes, amazing. We don't call it scurvy, but the doctor makes sure that nobody gets it. So
yeah, absolutely. And from our chat, we have from Strixline, and you Romantasy staple, being fed oranges by your pirate girlfriend as you recover from scurvy.
I think that's fabulous. There we go. There we go.
Write it. Write it, Strixline. We will read it.
We've gotten just to a scene in book 2. I could probably write that.
There we go. There you go. So just to wrap up, what's a piece of advice you'd offer to writers if they'd like to dip a toe in Romantasy, if they'd like to experiment? What do you think? Write.
Just write. Because not only reading helps you learn your craft, but I really find writing helps you hone your craft, right? So write it. Write a chapter. Write a scene. Does it vibe for you? Is it working? The more you write, the better writer you are. So just write it and see where it goes. Because sometimes, like, if you just write a scene, it's just a silly scene. But then again, right? And that kind of leads to something else and maybe something else. And before you know it, you've kind of got an outline. So I just say, just do it. Read whatever you can and start writing with little scenes and breaking it down. Start with the characters too, because, if you've got those characters that are jiving, they don't let go of your brain. They don't get out of your brain until you get them out of your brain. So, yeah.
And I would add there, don't feel like you have to start with a novel. I have successfully written and sold a short story that is Romantasy. Like, there is a market for those. They're out there. Coming out of Flame Tree Press this year. Thank you. Like if you are curious and you want to dip your toe in, start by seeing, what does this look like as a short story, or a couple of scenes, or a flash piece. And you can always expand that later into something that's more significant, or into a novella. And it doesn't have to be a full novel. So if you're thinking, I'd like to do this, but those books are just so fat and so big and like door stoppers. You don't have to start with something huge. It doesn't have to be a massive time commitment. A short piece is a great one to try on a genre, play around in the sandpit and see if you like it.
Yeah, and some romance themselves are shorter. They're smaller, right? They're smaller books. So I could totally see at some point a market for a very compact romantasy. 200 pages. Where you go? 300 pages max. Just a nice. I could see that, because that's a nice fast read. You can read a lot of them. I bet you if somebody started writing those, you can make a market.
Yeah, little snackables,
Snackables are
snackable romantasy.
Yes, snackables. I love it.
Go for it. We did have one comment that I wanted to make sure I highlighted, because Tilla says the limited edition of your book looks so good with the skulls on the end pages. Just saying.
That's the UK version, right? That's the UK.
Wow.
Here's that
with spreages, skull spreages.
Yeah, that's the American one with the waves. But then if you look to the inside of this one is the map. Which all fantasy books need a map. But
absolutely, and that was gorgeously colored as well.
It is gorgeous. But then this is so much fun. I don't know
Folks on
how
the
it'll
podcast.
translate here, but it's like skulls and anemones and
jellyfish, coral,
and
and oh, this is beautiful.
isn't it cool?
Yeah.
I just got it yesterday, so it's like
Incredible.
putting that up on my shelf. I think the Spanish one just came out too, so I'm super excited about that.
Amazing.
Yes,
Folks on the podcast who cannot see what we are describing, go to hleightondickson.com, written as it is in this
absolutely, yeah. Go that way.
And you will be able to find the Ship of Spells, and you can see some of the special editions on that page as well. I'm just going to straight up give you some advice and say post more of the pictures of the really pretty special editions, because they are gorgeous. And they give so many vibes about that book.
And it's like, this one is shiny, whereas the American one, North American one is textured, but the UK one is, I don't know if you can see, it's shiny. Yes. That's so pretty. They're both so pretty.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Well, Heather, thank you so very, very much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure having you nerding out about craft and all those things.
Totally nerd out about craft all the time.
Amazing. And I can't wait to have you back when you publish the second one.
When book 2, we'll make a date.
Maybe we could talk more about sailing and pirates. Just say
okay. We can totally.
Great convo. Tilla says it's arriving on Wednesday. It's happening, Heather.
Yay!
Hooray! I wish you joy. I'm going to be ordering the ebook the minute I'm finished here.
Perfect.
I cannot wait. And folks, the fun does not stop here. We are going on a raid, and next week we have, of course, the World Ember Awards ceremony. Our beautiful people dress-up competition is Dress for the Quest, so make sure that you submit your pictures over on the Discord. I still need to do mine. And I am very much looking forward to giving away a huge number of prizes, raffle prizes, stream raffle prizes, and all of those wonderful things. And of course, shouting out our sponsors, announcing winners, all that good stuff. So please come and join me. It's going to be a wonderful stream party. Dimmy will be here as well, and it should be good times all around. So then Samurai says, dress for the quest you want. Yes,
the quest.
It's the only way to live. And for all of my beans here, I hope you have a fantastic day. And biggest love to you all. I hope that you have love in your life, whether that's romantasy or not. And I guess the last thing to say is grab your hammer and go world build. See you all soon, guys. Bye.
Bye.